Hello, great minds. Welcome to your quantitative class with Mr. Ehige. In this class, we are going to be looking at exercise 23. Now get your books. Let's look at the 4 different sections in this exercise 23. Section A to D. Alright. Now let's start with section A. In this section A, we are not going to be making use of imaginary numbers. We are just going to look at the numbers and tell what it is. For example, to get 15. What do we need to do? We look at 6 and 9. What our mind tells us is that when we add them up, we will get 15. So to get the number in position of 15, let's go to the board. We add the 9 to the 6. And what we get is 15. Alright, it's as simple as that. Let's look at another number. Now look at the 9. What will you do with 6 and 3? Of course, is to add them up. So 3 plus 6 is a 9. So this section is very cheap. Now let's look at the 6. What do we do with 9 and 3? Of course, you subtract them. 9 minus 3, we get 6. And finally, let's look at the 3. We make use of the 9 and the 6. Of course, you are going to subtract 6 from 9. And your answer will be 3. So it's that simple. Now let's look at the second one. When you look at the second one, it involves something, an imaginary 7. So we are going to be making use of an imaginary number 7. What are we going to do with it? We are going to divide the sum of the number by an imaginary number. So to get 1, let's make use of 2 and 5 as we go to the board. So the first thing is the imaginary number. The imaginary number, we must not forget, is a 7. The imaginary number is 7. Alright. Now, let's begin. 5 plus 2 is a 7. Then, when you divide this 7 by the imaginary 7, you get a 1. See? So that is how we got the 1. Let's look at 2. Right? So, when we add 8 to 6, alright, 8 plus 6 gives us 14. 14. Alright? As usual, you divide the result by the imaginary number. 14 divided by 7, you get 2. Alright, you get a 2. Now, the next one here is the 1.3. Alright, so as usual, you add up the number on the left, which is 6 plus 4. That gives you 10. Alright, so you divide the result by the imaginary 7. So 10 divided by 7. So that gives us 1. Remainder 3. So the 3 is put after a dot. So the result is 1, but the remainder, which is 3, comes after a dot. So this is how this exercise is done. So it's 1.3. 1.3. Alright. So take note of that. While you are adding, it is not 0.3. So now let's look at the next section, section C. The first example here is the vertical arrow. The vertical arrow. It has a 26 in a rectangle. So what In this exercise, there is also an imaginary number. This time is not a 7, but rather a 2. Alright, so the imaginary number is 2. So how do we make use of this imaginary number? First, we multiply the 6 by the 4 to get 24. And once you add this 24 to the imaginary number, what you are going to get is 26. So that is how you get 26, or the middle number. Alright, now we are going to look at how we can get other numbers on the first example. Alright, the first example. In the first example, we have a 6. So when we work backwards, we will have to subtract the imaginary number first from the middle number, which is 26 minus 2. That gives us 24. Once we have that, we try to divide the 24, alright, by the 4, and that gives us a 6. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So that is how we got that 6. The last number there is 4. So what do we do to get that 4? Alright, again, we have to subtract the imaginary number 2. So we get a 24. Now this 24 is divided by 6. Alright, so when you divide it by 6, you are going to get a 4. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So that is how we can solve the vertical rectangle or arrow. Let's look at the second one, the horizontal one. The imaginary number is also 2, but first you must subtract the number at the edges. 17 minus 3 is 14. Then you subtract the imaginary 2 from the 14 to get the middle number, which is 12. Alright, the next number we are going to try to get here is 17. So we add the number at the edge 3 to the middle number. That gives us 15. Then that 15, we add the imaginary 2 to it. That gives us a 17. Alright, so that's how we get the 17. Then finally, the number 3. How do we get the 3? Well, let's go to the board again. 17, take away the middle number. That is 17 minus 12. That gives us a 5. Then finally, we subtract the imaginary 2 from the 5. That gives us a 3. So it's not difficult at all. Let's look at the last section, section D. This table is called a modulo table. Alright, so it makes use of number base. This particular one is number base 7, and numbers from 1 to 6 is written as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, but number up to 7 or above 7 is written as extra. Alright, so we break them down in 7, and the extra is written down as you can see there, 0, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so now let's look at how you can get some of the numbers on the table. The first one is 2 on the top and 2 are on the side. So when you multiply 2 by 2, you get a 4, right? And this 4 is less than 7, so we write it as 4. The same thing, 4 times 2 is 8. Now, in that sense, when you multiply 4 by 2, you get an 8, and 8 is even bigger than a 7, so we have to break it down. So when you break it down in 7s, we are going to have 8 is equal to 7 plus 1. Alright, that 1 is what is written down as the extra number or the answer in the modulo table. Now let's find that letter P. there is a P there to find, and we'll make use of 4 and 3. 4 from the top and 3 from the side. So usually we multiply them, and so when you multiply 3 by 4, you get a 12. Now you break this 12 down in sevens because we are doing base 7. So we have 7 plus 5. Alright, so that extra 5 is the answer for the unknown P. So P is 5. This is how we get the letters in the boxes. Then the last one is T. To get a T, you have a 5 on top and a 5 on the side. So you multiply them, and that gives you 25. Alright, so now this 25, you break it down in sevens because we are doing base 7. Alright, so we have 7 plus 7 plus 7, then that's 21 plus 4. That gives us a 25. It means that extra number, which is 4, is the number we are going to write down in that table. Alright, so that means T is 4. Alright, so this is how we deal with problems of modulo table. Alright, so we'll go through the sessions A to D. Understand and do the exercises in the book. Alright, they are not difficult at all. So that's all we can take for now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next class. Bye.